Limpopo departments were placed under administration last year following national government intervention. Several of Mathale's allies are currently facing criminal charges in relation to tenders allocated by the Limpopo government since he took office. Kusato has on occasion laid criminal charges against him. The DA was in the process of tabling a motion of no confidence in Mathale. The ANC Provincial Executive Committee, which he chaired, was disbanded by the Tuli House. In a 6-page statement Mathale issued this morning, he insisted that he did his best to improve the lot of the people in the province. He is adamant that his administration succeeded on so many fronts, including education, housing, health and local government, and that he acted against all forms of corruption and that at no stage ever attempted to derail or delay any investigations into irregular conduct. Insisting his conscience was clear, he dismissed suggestions that he ever channeled or redirected state resources for purposes other than state business. The ANC, as well as opposition parties, welcomed Mathale's resignation.
If this government is serious of taking on corruption, are serious taking on service delivery, those 5 departments that are still under administration, those departments, MECs, must also follow suit.
We have said it because we know what President Zuma is all about. If you are not supporting him, he will deal with you. And this is now the start of his attack on all these people. The next on the line will be the Minister of Sport, Fikile Mbalula, Kolma Shatile and the others.
We are very much happy as Kusato that the Premier of Limpopo has decided to resign from his position, because this is a battle that we have been fighting and we want to wish him well wherever he is going, and we will see what the ANC does in his position.
Mathale's replacement is yet to be announced.
Now with us in studio to help unpack the story is SABC contributing editor Vuyo Mvoko. A very good evening to you, Vuyo, and thank you for coming through. His axing was rumoured to be a long time coming, so then no real surprise.
No, not at all. I mean, you're sitting with 2 sets of problems. At an administrative level, you have a province that had no less than 5 departments put under administration last year. Now, that can be good for any premier's CV. And then at a political level, you also had a premier who supported a group or faction or whatever you call it that didn't support the great majority of ANC leaders. So can you really, if you were a president or if you were a governing party, wanting to be certain about victory in the next coming election, would you go with a premier like that? I don't think many presidents or leaders would go to an election with someone like that.
Begs the question then, is this an issue of governance or political issue? 9 months to go to the election, and as you said, the province embattled. So what would you say in terms of that?
Well, I think it's a bit of both, or it's actually both, because the difficulty you have is that if you allow a situation like that to continue, then you're giving ammunition to the opposition to actually beat you up with that. In other words, for the opposition to say, look at the premier you've got. This premier had 5 departments under administration. He hasn't done anything better to improve that. But also, I think there are issues, like fundamental issues of trust, because Mr. Mathale is seen to be close to people like Julius Malema, who have left the ANC. Can he be trusted to do the right thing? In other words, will he not deliver everything or everyone that he could possibly deliver to someone like Julius Malema? So those are factors, and in the absence of that, the greatest levels of trust that you would have wanted at that level, and in a province that's taken to be safe for the ANC, you don't want to leave anything to chance, because also there's a lot of speculation around this election that is going to be a litmus test for President Jacob Zuma.
Mr. Mathale has been with the party for over 30 years. What's likely to happen next? I mean, is he going to join the economic freedom fighters?
Well, judging by the way he wrote his statement, he wrote like a 6-page statement talking about the things that he and his colleagues, both in cabinet but also generally in the province, have done. Looking at how he's singing praises for the ANC, but also looking at how the ANC speaks of him. In other words, the ANC hasn't gone out to say, good riddance, let him go. It rarely does that in any event. But the way they're speaking of him, they don't want to let him like out to the dogs, so to speak. So it does suggest, that everyone wants to keep everybody inside the house, and he also doesn't sound like, yes, he's disappointed, bitter even, no doubt about that, but he doesn't sound like someone who is so bitter to the point of, I'm going to leave, I'm getting the hell out of here. But also remember, he's not in the same position as a Julius Malema, for example. He can still be inside the party. I'm sure they can sort him out with 1 or 2 things to keep him like sort of earning a salary, but also making himself useful inside or within the ANC in the run-up to elections and beyond. So he's not really as vulnerable. Yes, it's going to hurt his ego, probably a major source of his income. He's gonna lose that, but I don't think to a point of saying I'm sick and tired with the ANC. But in other words, that certainly didn't come through in the statement that he released today, but also in what the ANC had to say about him.
Thank you very much for your insight. That was our contributing editor, Vuyo Mvoko. Let's see what the Twitter world had to say regarding his resignation. Christopher tweeting saying Mathale did the honourable thing by resigning, cause dismissal was imminent, and that's how it's done in politics. And Chema tweeting saying the only reason the ANC pushed Mathale to resign is because last week Juju said people I'm alleged to have corrupted are still in government. Tolo tweeting saying Cassel Mathale has resigned, long overdue in my opinion. Neo saying Cassel Mathale resigns, watch now as Stan Matabata becomes premier, don't say I didn't tell you. Grumpy tweeting saying now that Mathale has resigned with immediate effect, will he return to his holiday in Italy? Good Hair tweeting saying Limpopo Premier Cassel Mathale quits, it was either that or he would have been fired, I guess the chickens are coming home to roost. Rudzani tweeting saying Cassel Mathale has resigned, that's good news. And Nafisa saying Limpopo Premier Cassel Mathale becomes the latest to take the walk of shame.